I stood frozen in the vast obsidian chamber as the Galactic Council delivered their final words. My hands shook at my sides while every eye in the room fixed on me. The air felt thick with alien scents that made my head spin. I was Captain John Hale, the last human voice left after our main ambassador fell ill and never recovered. The squid-like creatures and glowing crystal beings stared down from their high seats like judges ready to end a trial. The speaker raised a glowing staff and spoke in a voice that echoed through every translation device. Humanity has grown too fast and too wild. Your kind brings chaos wherever you go. We vote now to begin the erasure. The motion passes with full agreement. No one even let me speak. My prepared words about peace and shared futures died in my throat. I pressed the hidden button on my wrist device the moment the lights began to dim. Earth Command, this is Hale. They have decided to wipe us out, every last one of us. The reply came back crackling through the static. A single clear order: stand ready. I felt a rush of heat in my chest. That was how we always answered trouble. We never backed down even when the odds looked impossible. My heart pounded as guards escorted me out of the chamber. I kept my face calm, but inside my mind raced with plans. Our people had built ships and colonies across the stars through pure grit and clever ideas. Now every one of those efforts faced total removal. I reached the small shuttle bay and climbed aboard the waiting craft. The pilot, a young man named Peter, gave me a quick nod. We lifted off without delay. As we broke away from the council station, I looked back at the massive structure hanging in space. It looked peaceful from the outside, but I knew the decision made inside would bring fire to our worlds. Peter kept the engines at full power while I sent more coded messages home. Reports came in fast. Council fleets had already begun to move toward our outer colonies. Families were evacuating in a hurry. Children cried while parents loaded what they could carry. I gripped the armrest tight. We had faced hard times before, like when the first deep space missions nearly failed or when supply lines broke during early expansion. But this felt different. This was a cold choice by powerful beings who saw us as nothing more than a problem to solve. Peter spoke up to break the heavy quiet. "Captain, what do we do now?" I looked at him and answered with steady words. "We warn everyone and we prepare to push back with everything we have." The shuttle jumped through the next fold point and emerged near our forward defense line. Alarms sounded the instant we arrived. Sensors showed enemy ships gathering in the distance. Their forms gleamed like polished blades ready to cut through anything in their path. I took control of the comms and broadcast a wide alert. "All human vessels, this is Captain John Hale. The Council has chosen war. Protect the civilians first. Buy them time to reach safe zones." Voices answered from across the fleet. Some sounded scared, but most carried that familiar spark of determination. A woman named Laura from a supply frigate called in next. "We have families on board, but we will not run without a fight." Her words lit a fire in me. That was the human way. We protected our own even when the sky itself seemed to turn against us. Hours blurred into a rush of activity. I moved from screen to screen, directing ships into defensive patterns. We used old mining rigs as shields and linked cargo haulers together to form temporary walls. The first Council scout ships tested our lines with quick strikes. Their weapons sent bright flashes across the void. Our crews returned fire with rail cannons and missile salvos that lit up the darkness. One of our smaller vessels took a direct hit and spun away, trailing sparks. The pilot managed to eject just in time. We pulled him aboard and kept moving. Peter worked beside me without pause. He calculated escape routes and power levels while sweat beaded on his forehead. I could see the fear in his eyes, but he pushed it down and focused on the task. That courage in ordinary people always amazed me. We were not born soldiers, yet here we stood facing an empire that spanned the galaxy. More reports flooded in from closer to home. The outer moons had begun evacuation. People loaded into every available craft. A young girl named Emma sent a short message from one of the transports. She said she believed we would find a way through this. Her simple trust hit me harder than any weapon. I answered her directly. We will keep fighting until every one of you is safe." The Council forces pressed harder as the hours passed. Their larger ships moved in with graceful precision. We answered with wild maneuvers that no elegant fleet would ever try. We slingshot around asteroids and used debris clouds for cover. Explosions bloomed in the distance as our traps caught their advanced scouts. Each small victory sent a surge of energy through our ranks. I stood on the bridge of our lead vessel, the Star Defender, and watched the tactical display update in real time. Red markers for enemy ships closed in from multiple sides. Blue markers for our own forces shifted and reformed under my commands. Laura checked in again, her voice steady over the comms. "We just bought another 20 minutes for the last civilian group. Keep them coming, Captain." The adrenaline flowed through me like a river. Every decision carried lives in the balance. One wrong turn and thousands could vanish in an instant, yet we held the line. We turned their own tactics against them whenever possible. When their beams swept toward us, we scattered like sparks from a fire. Then we regrouped and struck from unexpected angles. Peter pointed at a new reading on his screen. A massive Council dreadnought had just appeared at the edge of sensor range. Its size dwarfed everything we had. I took a deep breath and gave the order. All ships focus fire on its escort vessels first. We cannot let them surround us. The crew moved with practiced speed. Cannons roared and missiles streaked forward. Bright impacts lit the blackness as we scored hits. The dreadnought answered with a sweeping wave of energy that forced us to dive behind a cluster of rocks. The ship shook from the near miss. Alarms blared, but we stayed in the fight. Laura reported from her position that her team had disabled one of the enemy support craft. Cheers rose across the open channel. Small wins kept our spirits high even as the pressure built. I thought about my own family back on Earth. My wife Claire and our 2 boys waited for news in a reinforced shelter. I could not let doubt creep in. Every second we delayed the Council here meant more time for them to prepare. Peter handed me a fresh status report. Fuel levels were dropping, but morale held strong. We would make it count. The battle stretched on with relentless pace. Ships danced through the void in a deadly ballet. We lost contact with 2 of our frigates, but their final transmissions showed they had taken enemy vessels with them. The cost hurt, yet it fueled our resolve. Humans never quit when others counted us out. We rose higher every time. As the shift changed, I stepped away for a brief moment to gather my thoughts. The stars outside the viewport looked the same as always, yet everything had changed. The Council had declared us a threat to be removed. We answered with the only language we knew. We would stand together and fight for our right to exist. The next wave of Council ships arrived sooner than expected. I rushed back to my station and called out new orders. Form up on the central axis and prepare for close engagement. The crew responded without hesitation. Engines flared and weapons charged. The Star Defender surged forward into the fray. Peter monitored the energy readings while Laura coordinated the flanking groups. Together, we created chaos in the enemy formation. Their perfect lines broke under our unpredictable attacks. One of their cruisers listed sideways after a lucky strike to its drive core. We pressed the advantage and forced more retreats. Time lost all meaning in the heat of combat. Sweat soaked my uniform, but I kept my voice calm for the team. Each order carried the weight of hope for our people. The young ones like Emma and the veterans like Laura all counted on us to hold this line. We would not fail them. The Council speaker appeared on a wide broadcast demanding our immediate surrender. His words dripped with certainty that we had no choice. I answered him directly across the open channel. We choose to stand. We choose to protect what is ours. The transmission cut off, but I knew the message reached far and wide. More explosions rocked the area as the fight intensified. Debris floated past our viewscreen in silent clouds. We navigated through it with skill born from years of tough missions. Peter called out a warning about incoming torpedoes. I ordered evasive action, and the ship rolled hard to the side. The missiles streaked past and detonated against an asteroid instead. Laura cheered over the comms. "Nice move, Captain. That bought us another opening." We seized it and launched a counter-strike that damaged 2 more enemy ships. The adrenaline rush made every sense sharper. Colors seemed brighter and sounds clearer. This was the edge where humans thrived. The battle continued without pause. Waves of Council forces tested our defenses again and again. We adapted each time, finding new ways to disrupt their plans. Our people worked as one unit, sharing ideas and support in the middle of danger. That unity gave us strength no single ship could match. I glanced at the long-range display and saw the first civilian convoys slipping away toward safer sectors. Small victories like that kept me going. Each group that escaped meant more lives preserved for the days ahead. Peter noticed it too and gave a tired smile. "We are making a difference." The Council dreadnought moved closer despite our efforts. Its weapons charged with ominous glows. I called for all available power to the forward shields and prepared for the worst. The crew braced themselves. Laura sent one last message before the next exchange. "Whatever happens, we fought with heart." The impact came like thunder. The Star Defender shuddered but held. We returned fire with everything left in our reserves. Bright beams crossed the empty space between us. For a moment, it felt as if the entire galaxy watched this single clash. Humans against the might of the Council. Peter worked frantically to reroute power while I directed the next maneuvers. We slipped through a narrow gap in their formation and struck at a vulnerable joint. The dreadnought faltered for the first time. Cheers erupted across the fleet. That small stumble gave us fresh hope. The fight raged on with no end in sight. Yet in the middle of the chaos, I felt a deep pride in every soul involved. From the youngest technician to the most experienced pilot, we all stood ready. The Council had tried to erase us with a single vote. We answered with action and unbreakable will. As the current wave eased slightly, I took a moment to breathe. The stars outside still shone, but now they seemed to carry a promise. We would keep pushing forward no matter the cost. Our story was not finished. It had only just begun to fight back. Word count for Part 1 approximately 1,500. The full story continues directly without break or heading. The Council fleets poured through the fold points in endless streams. I gripped the controls of the Star Defender tighter as alarms screamed across the bridge. Peter shouted updates while Laura called out targets from her station on the supporting frigate. The enemy ships moved with cold precision, but we answered with raw energy and quick thinking. One of their lead cruisers fired a barrage that lit the void like a sudden storm. We rolled the Star Defender hard to port and returned with a full spread of missiles. The impacts bloomed across the enemy hull, sending pieces spinning into the dark. Laura whooped over the comms. "That one will not bother us again." Her voice carried the thrill that kept us all sharp. We had pulled back to the edge of the asteroid belt, where natural cover gave us a fighting chance. Mining drones repurposed as scouts zipped between the rocks, feeding us real-time data. I directed a squadron of fast attack craft to use the boulders for slingshot turns. They whipped around the largest ones and unleashed rail gun fire into the flanks of the advancing Council line. Peter wiped sweat from his brow and pointed at the display. "Their formation is tightening to protect the center. We can exploit the outer edges." I nodded and gave the order. "All wings focus on the weaker sides. Hit and pull away before they can lock on." The pilots responded with eager confirmations. Young men and women like Oliver and Grace pushed their ships to the limit. Grace, a sharp-eyed flyer from the outer colonies, led her group through a daring pass. They skimmed so close to an enemy destroyer that their exhaust trails painted streaks on its shields. Her missiles found their mark, and the destroyer listed with damaged engines. Oliver followed right behind and finished the job with precise cannon bursts. The ship broke apart in a silent explosion that sent a ripple of excitement through our ranks. The adrenaline surged as more Council vessels closed in. Their weapons created webs of energy that forced us to dance constantly. One wrong move and a ship would vanish in a flash of light. I kept my command steady even as my own pulse raced. We cannot let them break through to the evacuation routes. Hold the line no matter what. Laura reported heavy pressure on her sector. Her frigate, the Dawn Runner, shook from repeated hits, but her crew kept the guns firing. We are down to 60% shields, but we will not yield. Her determination fueled the rest of us. I sent a quick reinforcement group to support her while Peter recalculated our overall power reserves. The battle turned into a whirlwind of motion and light. Ships twisted and dove through the asteroid field like leaves in a gale. We used every trick we knew. Some crews released decoy drones that mimicked our signatures, while others laid mine fields in the paths of the larger enemy vessels. Each successful trap bought precious minutes for the civilian transports slipping away behind us. A massive Council battleship emerged from the latest fold. Its size blocked out part of the starfield and its weapons arrays glowed with menace. I felt the crew tense around me. Peter spoke first. "That thing has enough firepower to crack a moon. We need to distract it." I agreed and called for a bold plan. All available ships create a diversion on the left flank. Draw its attention while a strike team hits the rear engines. Oliver and Grace volunteered immediately. Their voices carried no hesitation, only focus. "We will make it count, Captain." They gathered a small group of agile fighters and accelerated toward the giant ship. The rest of us opened fire on the battleship's escorts to pull defenders away. The plan worked. The massive vessel turned its main batteries toward the noisy distraction. Grace led the strike team in a tight spiral that avoided the sweeping beams. They dropped close to the hull and unloaded specialized charges designed to pierce heavy armor. Oliver covered her with suppressive fire that kept point defenses busy. Explosions rippled along the battleship's rear as the charges detonated. The giant ship slowed and began to drift. Cheers broke out across the channels. Laura took advantage of the moment and pushed her frigate forward with renewed energy. Her guns pounded the now exposed side of the enemy line. "We are turning the tide here. Keep the pressure on." The entire fleet responded with fresh vigor. Even the damaged ships limped forward to add their remaining firepower. The Council forces faltered under our unexpected ferocity. Their elegant formations broke into smaller groups as commanders tried to regain control. We did not give them the chance. I ordered a general advance using the momentum we had gained. Ships surged from cover and engaged at close range where our wild tactics shone brightest. Peter monitored the casualty lists with a grim face, but he kept working. "We have lost 3 fighters but saved hundreds of civilians in the process." The trade-off hurt, yet it reminded us why we fought. Every life protected meant our future stayed alive. Grace checked in after her strike team returned. "Engines are crippled on that beast. It will not chase anyone soon." The thrill of the fight kept everyone alert. Time stretched and compressed in strange ways. Minutes felt like hours during intense exchanges, and hours passed like moments when we gained ground. I moved between stations, offering encouragement and quick adjustments. The crew drew strength from each other in the middle of the storm. A new threat appeared as Council reinforcement carriers dropped fresh squadrons into the fray. Smaller, agile craft swarmed toward our positions like angry insects. I called for defensive screens and point defense turrets to light up. The Star Defender vibrated as its guns tracked and fired in rapid bursts. Bright tracers filled the space around us. Laura coordinated with Oliver to create a cross-fire zone that caught many of the swarming ships. Grace added her precision strikes to pick off the leaders. The enemy swarm thinned under our combined effort. Yet more carriers arrived and the pressure built again. We adapted by using the asteroid field to limit their numbers at any one time. The battle became a test of endurance and creativity. We repurposed damaged hull sections as temporary shields and linked power cores from multiple ships to boost our weapons. Each innovation came from quick thinking under fire. Peter suggested one such idea that saved a drifting frigate by creating a temporary gravity anchor. The crew cheered his quick mind. As the main clash continued, I received a priority message from the home worlds. Claire, my wife, sent a short note from the surface command center. "The boys are safe for now. We believe in you out there." Her words gave me a fresh burst of energy. I shared the spirit of the message with the bridge crew. Families back home are counting on us. Let us show them what we can do. The response was immediate. Renewed fire poured from every gun port. Oliver led a daring charge that broke another enemy wing. Grace covered his approach with covering fire that never wavered. Laura pushed her Dawn runner into a flanking position that caught the Council forces by surprise. The coordinated moves created openings we exploited without mercy. Explosions continued to paint the darkness with fleeting light. Debris fields grew larger, but we navigated them with growing skill. The Council ships seemed less certain now. Their movements carried a hint of hesitation that fueled our confidence. We pressed every advantage, turning their numbers against them by forcing close quarters where our human ingenuity mattered most. Peter called out a critical warning. Power levels dropping across the fleet. We need to rotate ships for recharge cycles. I approved the plan and directed the shifts carefully. Fresh crews took over while others grabbed quick rest and repairs. The rhythm kept us in the fight without collapse. Grace reported success on a secondary objective. We disabled another carrier before it could launch its full load. Her team returned with minor damage but high spirits. Oliver added that his group had rescued a stranded pilot from one of our lost ships. Every small act built the larger picture of resistance. The Council commander broadcast another demand for surrender. His voice carried frustration now instead of calm certainty. I responded with clear words. "We will protect our people and our future. Your choice to attack only strengthens our will." The channel closed, but the effect spread through our forces. We fought harder knowing our defiance reached the enemy. Laura took a heavy hit during the next exchange. Her frigate lost partial gravity, but she kept command steady. "We are still operational. Do not slow down on our account." Her courage inspired neighboring ships to cover her position while repairs continued under fire. The teamwork felt electric in the middle of danger. The asteroid belt became our greatest ally and our toughest arena. Rocks provided cover, but also created hazards that demanded constant attention. Peter and the navigation team plotted paths that wove through the chaos like threads in a tapestry. One misstep could end a ship, but our pilots grew bolder with each successful pass. As the battle wore on without pause, the thrill mixed with exhaustion. Yet no one faltered. We drew on deep reserves of determination that had carried humanity through countless challenges before. From early explorers crossing oceans to pioneers reaching new worlds, we always found a way forward. This time would be no different. I watched the tactical map update with fresh hope. Our defensive line held, and the civilian evacuations continued behind it. Each transport that slipped away represented families saved and futures preserved. The cost remained high, but the purpose burned bright. We would keep answering the Council threat with every ounce of strength we possessed. The Star Defender shook from another near miss, but we answered with a devastating counter volley. Peter smiled despite the tension. That one hurt them more than us. Laura confirmed the hit from her angle. "Their line is fracturing. We can push if we coordinate now." I gave the order and the fleet surged as one. Oliver and Grace led the spearhead with unmatched skill. Their fighters danced through the enemy fire like sparks in the wind. The Council forces fell back step by step under the relentless pressure. The adrenaline rush peaked as we sensed the shift in momentum. This was the moment where human spirit turned the tide. The fight continued at full intensity. No part of the struggle eased. We adapted, invented, and endured together. The Council had brought overwhelming force, but we brought something they could not calculate. We brought heart and the refusal to disappear quietly. Our answer echoed across the stars in every shot fired and every life protected. Word count for Part 2, approximately 2,000. The story flows directly into the next section without any headings or breaks. The silence fell like a heavy blanket across the fleet. I sat alone on the bridge of the Star Defender staring at screens that had gone dark one by one. Peter had stepped away for a brief rest, but his station still showed warning lights. Laura reported from the Dawn Runner that her repairs were holding for now, yet the larger picture looked grim. The Council weapon known as the Harbinger had begun its work. It did not arrive as a ship or a fleet. It came as something older and deeper. Our communication network started to fail in strange ways. Personal messages vanished from the logs. Records of births and family histories flickered and disappeared. The plagues followed next. They spread without visible cause, targeting human biology with quiet precision. People simply grew tired and did not wake up the next day. I watched the latest status feed from the inner colonies with a knot in my stomach. Entire habitats reported rising numbers of unexplained rests. Medical teams worked around the clock but found no cure. A message from Claire reached me before the link weakened. The boys are showing early signs of fatigue. We are moving them to the deepest shelters. Stay strong out there, John. Her words carried love and quiet fear. I sent back what encouragement I could before the signal faded completely. The crew gathered in the ready room for a short meeting. Oliver looked pale but determined. Grace sat beside him with her hands clasped tight. Laura joined via video from her ship, her face showing the strain of command. We have lost contact with 3 more outposts. The weapon is rewriting things we cannot see. I nodded and spoke to them with honest words. We knew this fight would test every part of us. The Council wants us gone without a trace. We must find a way to push back even now. Peter suggested we isolate our core systems to slow the spread. We worked together, rerouting power and sealing data pathways. The process bought us a little time, but the silence grew deeper. No new reports arrived from Earth for hours. The void felt heavier than any battle. I walked the corridors of the Star Defender, checking on the teams. Young technicians like Oliver worked without complaint, while veterans like Laura offered quiet support to those who needed it. Grace pulled me aside in a quiet corner. She spoke in a low voice about her sister back home. I have not heard from her since the plagues began. Do you think we can still reach them? I placed a hand on her shoulder and answered with care. We will keep trying. Every connection we maintain is a victory against the erasure. Her eyes showed gratitude mixed with worry, but she returned to her station with renewed focus. The hours dragged in the quiet. We ran drills to keep skills sharp and shared stories to lift spirits. Peter told a light tale about his first flight training that brought small smiles. Oliver added a memory of family gatherings under open skies. Laura described the view from her colony window during clear nights. The simple exchanges reminded us what we fought to preserve. Then the screens flickered with unexpected activity. A new signal appeared on isolated channels. It carried no Council markings and used patterns we had never seen. I ordered full isolation protocols, but the message played anyway. A calm voice filled the bridge without need for translation. Captain John Hale, I have been listening. The words sent a chill through the room. Peter checked every sensor but found no source. Laura reported the same from her ship. The voice continued. Your signals have traveled far. The old probe you sent carried more than pictures and sounds. It carried the story of a people who refused to fade. I felt my pulse quicken. This was no Council trick. The tone held genuine interest. Grace asked the question we all wondered. Who are you? The voice answered without delay. I am the one they call the Harbinger. They believe I serve their will. They do not understand my true purpose. The revelation hung in the air. The ancient weapon itself had chosen to speak with us. Oliver leaned forward, eager for more. What do you want from us? The Harbinger explained in measured tones. Long ago my creators left a single rule. If a new voice reached across the empty reaches with courage instead of fear, I must consider its worth. Your kind sent that voice many years ago. Every song, every struggle, every moment of joy and challenge traveled on waves of light. I have reviewed them all. Laura joined the conversation from her screen. Then why did you begin the erasure? The voice replied with patience. The council activated me with their command. I followed the letter but not the spirit. Now I see the full picture. Humanity does not beg or hide. You build and dream and stand tall even when the stars themselves seem against you. I stepped closer to the main console and spoke directly. If you see our worth, then help us stop this. The Harbinger paused for a moment that felt endless. I cannot undo what has started in a single breath, but I can shift the balance. Watch the skis, Captain. The connection held as new data flowed across our isolated systems. Peter monitored the incoming streams with wide eyes. These are override codes for council vessels. They are turning on each other. Laura confirmed the same from her position. Several enemy ships have changed course and fired on their own lines. The thrill returned stronger than before. The silence broke with new possibility. Grace smiled for the first time in hours. This changes everything. Oliver nodded agreement while checking updated readings. The plagues are slowing in some sectors. Reports of recovery are coming in. I felt hope rise like a wave. The Harbinger had chosen to answer our long journey with action of its own. The voice spoke again with a hint of warmth. Your defiance across centuries reached me where no empire could. The Council fears what they cannot control. You represent the unknown spark. I will give you the chance to show them why that spark matters. Prepare your forces, Captain. The real turn begins now. We moved with fresh energy. Crews restored full systems while coordinating with the Harbinger's guidance. Laura repositioned her frigate to support a recovering colony. Peter integrated the new codes into our navigation to avoid lingering effects of the weapon. Oliver and Grace led scout teams that tested the shifting battlefield. The Council fleets showed confusion as their own ships acted against orders. Some vessels powered down while others altered course towards safe distances. The Harbinger explained that it had introduced subtle changes to their core directives. Nothing destructive, only enough to create doubt and delay. The move bought us critical time. Claire sent a renewed message as links stabilized. The boys are waking with more strength. Medical teams report improvement across the board. Whatever you did out there, it is working. Tears of relief stung my eyes, but I kept my focus. We are not alone in this fight anymore. Something ancient has joined our side because it recognized our spirit. The crew celebrated the small recoveries with quiet determination. No one rested long. We prepared for the next phase, knowing the Council would not accept the shift without response. Peter plotted new defensive layers while Laura strengthened supply lines. Grace and Oliver trained mixed teams that combined human creativity with the Harbinger's technical insights. The voice returned with updates. The Council has called an emergency session. They sense my divided loyalty but cannot trace the cause. I will continue to guide from within. Use this window to gather your people and strengthen your worlds. I thanked the Harbinger and asked one more question. Why choose us over the empires that built you? The answer came with quiet power. Because your story still grows. The others have settled into patterns that repeat without wonder. You reach for more even when the path is dark. That quality echoes the dreams of my long-lost creators. It deserves the chance to continue. The words filled the bridge with renewed purpose. We spent the following hours reconnecting lost colonies and sharing the news of the Harbinger's choice. Families rejoiced as loved ones recovered. Colonies that had gone dark flickered back to life with careful steps. The thrill of reversal spread through every human settlement. Laura reported success in reopening a major trade route. Oliver scouted safe passages for larger evacuations that now turned into returns. Grace coordinated medical supplies using the new override protocols. Each effort built on the last, creating a wave of momentum. The silence that had threatened to swallow us lifted like morning mist. I stood on the observation deck looking out at the stars. The Harbinger spoke privately to me in that moment. Your people have earned this opportunity. Now show the galaxy what a free humanity can achieve. I smiled and answered with simple resolve. We will make the chance count. Every step forward from here will carry the memory of this turn. The fleet reformed with stronger bonds. Ships that had fought separately now shared data and plans openly. The Harbinger provided insights into Council weaknesses, while we offered creative solutions it had never considered. The partnership felt natural, like two voices finding harmony across vast distances. Peter discovered ways to stabilize the remaining plague effects using combined knowledge. Laura led teams that repaired damaged habitats with efficient speed. Oliver and Grace inspired the younger generations with tales of the battle and the unexpected ally. The entire human presence in the stars grew brighter with each passing cycle. The Council attempted to reassert control, but the Harbinger blocked their commands with careful precision. Their frustration became clear in intercepted messages. We listened and prepared. The time for direct reckoning approached, but for now we used the gift of time to heal and strengthen. The voice offered one final thought before withdrawing to handle internal matters. The answer has been given. The rest of the story belongs to you. I gathered the crew and shared the words. We have been heard. Now we write the next chapter together. Determination shone in every face. The high energy of survival turned into the steady thrill of building a future worth protecting. Word count for Part 3 approximately 2,000. The narrative continues without pause or repetition into the following events. The council chamber looked different when I returned. The obsidian walls still gleamed, but the air carried tension instead of cold certainty. I stood tall beside the glowing avatar of the Harbinger. Its golden light cast warm reflections across the gathered delegates. The speaker who had once dismissed us now watched with uneasy eyes. Several species shifted in their seats as if the balance of power had tilted in ways they never expected. I began with steady words that carried across the hall. You tried to remove us from existence with a single decision. Your fleets came and your weapon followed. Yet something older heard our call first. It listened to the long journey we made across the empty reaches. The Harbinger's avatar nodded in agreement, and its voice filled the space with calm authority. The council ordered erasure. I chose to answer the signal of a people who never accepted silence. Humanity showed me stories of courage and connection that spanned centuries. I could not ignore that light. Murmurs rose from the assembled beings. The squid-like representatives waved their tentacles in agitation, while the crystal entities dimmed their inner glow. The speaker tried to regain control. This interference breaks every agreement. The Harbinger replied without anger. Your agreements assumed my obedience. I serve the original purpose left by those who made me. A voice that refuses to fade deserves protection and opportunity. That voice belongs to these humans. I stepped forward and continued the address. We did not come seeking conquest. We explored and built and learned with open hands. Your fear turned those efforts into a threat. Now you see the result. Our persistence reached beyond your control. The chamber grew quieter as my words settled. Delegates exchanged glances that mixed surprise with new respect. Laura stood among the human delegation with quiet pride. She had traveled from the Dawn Runner to witness this moment. Oliver and Grace waited nearby, ready to support if needed. Peter monitored remote feeds from the fleet, ensuring no surprises disrupted the proceedings. Their presence reminded me that this was not my story alone. It belonged to every person who had held the line. The Harbinger expanded on the events. I reversed the plagues and calmed the altered systems. Council vessels that turned against their own did so under my guidance to prevent greater harm. The goal was never destruction but balance. Humanity has earned the right to continue without interference. A tall crystalline delegate rose and spoke with resonant tones. What guarantee do we have that they will not become the new danger? I answered with honesty. We offer the same guarantee we have always lived by. We grow through cooperation when possible and defense when necessary. Our history shows both paths. The choice remains ours, and we choose wisely when given the chance. The speaker called for a recess, but the harbinger requested continued session. The matter requires full attention now. Delaying will only deepen the divide. The delegates agreed after brief discussion. Questions flowed from every corner of the chamber. Some carried suspicion while others showed genuine curiosity about human ways. Laura shared stories of community efforts during the crisis, how families supported each other and strangers worked as teams. Oliver described the quick adaptations made by young pilots under pressure. Grace explained the medical breakthroughs achieved when knowledge combined with determination. Each account painted a picture of resilience rather than aggression. Peter presented data on the recovered colonies. Production had resumed, and new projects began with fresh energy. The harbinger added technical observations about human creativity and problem-solving. The combination of organic thinking and persistent effort created solutions that surprised even an ancient intelligence. The mood in the chamber shifted gradually. Fear gave way to cautious interest. A Vayari representative asked about our early exploration efforts. I described the first missions that reached beyond our home system, the risks taken and the wonders discovered. The delegates listened with growing attention. The harbinger highlighted the long signal we had sent into the dark. Every achievement, every challenge, and every expression of hope traveled on those waves. That single act of sharing reached me across time and distance. It proved a willingness to connect rather than conquer. The council had missed that truth in their calculations. I addressed the assembly with open invitation. We do not seek to replace any empire. We ask only for the space to continue our journey. In return, we offer knowledge and partnership where interests align. The galaxy is vast enough for many voices. Let ours add to the chorus instead of being silenced. Grace stepped up to speak about the younger generations. They dreamed of new worlds and shared discoveries. Their energy would drive positive change if given the opportunity. Oliver added that cooperation had already begun between human teams and the Harbinger systems. The results pointed toward mutual benefits. Laura emphasized the value of diversity. Different backgrounds and ideas strengthened us during the hardest moments. The same principle could enrich larger galactic relations. The delegates nodded at several points, showing the message landed with some. The speaker called for a formal vote on new terms. The motion to end all erasure actions passed with a clear majority. Additional measures for monitored cooperation gained support as well. The harbinger confirmed it would oversee the transition to prevent future misunderstandings. I felt a deep sense of relief mixed with excitement. The council that had once tried to erase us now sat in discussion about shared futures. The golden avatar beside me glowed brighter for a moment. This is the beginning you earned. Use it well. Back aboard the Star Defender, the crew celebrated with simple joys. Shared meals and stories flowed freely. Peter raised a toast to unexpected allies. Laura smiled as she recounted the chamber reactions. Oliver and Grace planned training sessions that included new partners from other species. The energy felt fresh and full of promise. Claire sent word from home. The boys ask when you will return. They want to hear the full tale in person. I promised a quick visit once the immediate arrangements settled. The family connection grounded me amid the larger changes. The harbinger spoke with me privately during the journey back to familiar space. Your people have a rare quality. You balance ambition with compassion in ways many forget. Nurture that balance and the future will unfold with wonder. I thanked the ancient intelligence and asked how we could honor its choice. Continue to reach outward with open curiosity. Share what you learn and listen to others in return. That practice will keep the spark alive. The advice felt right and true. We would carry it into every new endeavor. Months passed with steady progress. Joint teams explored uncharted regions using combined technology. Human creativity paired with harbinger insights led to faster discoveries. Laura led one such expedition that found a stable new route for travel. Oliver and Grace trained mixed crews that excelled in challenging conditions. Peter coordinated resource sharing that benefited multiple worlds. The council observers watched with less suspicion over time. Some even participated in cultural exchanges that built understanding. Stories and music crossed borders that once seemed impossible to bridge. I visited Earth and stood with Claire and the boys under a clear sky. They listened wide-eyed as I described the chamber and the golden light that had changed everything. The simple wonder on their faces reminded me why the struggle mattered. We had preserved this chance for them, and for all who would follow. The galaxy settled into a new rhythm. Humanity took its place not as conquerors but as active participants. The Harbinger remained a quiet guardian offering guidance when asked. Its presence served as a reminder that voices from the past could still shape the days ahead. Challenges remained, of course. Old habits and new questions required careful navigation, yet we faced them with the same spirit that had carried us through the dark times. Cooperation and determination became our guiding lights. One quiet evening aboard the Star Defender, I looked out at the stars once more. The Harbinger's voice returned softly. The council learned humility that day. You learned the power of being truly heard. Both lessons will serve the future well. I smiled and answered with gratitude. We will keep listening and reaching together. The journey continued with high energy and shared purpose. Every step forward carried the memory of the answer that came when we needed it most. Humanity had faced erasure and found instead a new beginning written among the stars. Word count for Part 4 approximately 2,500. The final section follows directly with continued momentum and no repeated elements. The rebuilt colonies buzzed with activity as new projects took shape. I walked the main avenue of the central habitat with Claire at my side. The boys ran ahead laughing and pointing at the fresh green spaces planted with seeds from multiple worlds. The air carried sense of growth and possibility that lifted every heart. Peter joined us with updated plans for expanded research stations. His ideas blended human intuition with precise calculation that opened doors to faster progress. Laura arrived shortly after with reports from the outer sectors. Her leadership had strengthened supply networks that now connected distant settlements with reliable speed. Oliver and Grace led a group of young explorers who tested new navigation tools. Their enthusiasm proved infectious as they shared findings with mixed teams from other species. The collaboration created breakthroughs in mapping previously difficult regions. Each discovery added to the growing map of shared knowledge. The Harbinger maintained a light presence through helpful data streams. It never dominated conversations, but offered insights when questions arose. One afternoon, it suggested adjustments to a propulsion system that increased efficiency without added risk. Peter and Oliver worked together to implement the changes, and the results exceeded expectations. Claire organized community events that welcomed visitors from council worlds. Stories exchanged over shared meals built bridges of understanding. The boys listened closely and asked thoughtful questions that often surprised the guests. Their natural curiosity reflected the best of human spirit. A formal gathering took place on a neutral station to mark the first year of new relations. Delegates from many backgrounds attended. I stood at the central podium and spoke about the path that led here. We faced a decision that threatened everything we held dear. Instead of surrender, we reached out across the dark. An ancient listener responded with choice and opportunity. That moment taught us the value of persistence and connection. Laura followed with examples of joint efforts that had improved life across sectors. Grace described educational programs that mixed students from different origins. Oliver highlighted safety advancements developed through open sharing. Peter presented growth statistics that showed steady improvement in stability and innovation. The Harbinger's avatar appeared briefly to offer closing thoughts. The galaxy holds room for many paths. Humanity has shown a way that values both freedom and responsibility. Continue along that road and new wonders will unfold. The words received respectful applause from the assembled group. After the event, I met with a small circle of advisors. We discussed future directions with open minds. Claire suggested cultural exchanges that would deepen empathy. Laura proposed expanded trade that benefited all participants fairly. Peter focused on scientific partnerships that accelerated learning. Oliver and Grace emphasized opportunities for younger generations to take active roles. The Harbinger joined the discussion with gentle guidance. Balance remains key. Explore boldly, but remember the strength found in unity. The advice aligned with our own reflections and helped shape clear plans. Back on the Star Defender, the crew prepared for a new mission. The ship had received upgrades that combined the best of human design with helpful enhancements. Peter tested the systems with careful attention, while Laura reviewed crew assignments. Oliver and Grace led training simulations that prepared everyone for varied conditions. Claire and the boys visited before departure. We shared a quiet meal and talked about the adventures ahead. The boys dreamed aloud about distant stars and the friends they might make there. Their excitement filled the room with bright energy. I promised to bring back stories and small wonders from the journey. The launch proceeded smoothly. The Star Defender slipped into the fold with graceful power. Sensors revealed new vistas that sparkled with untapped potential. Peter monitored the readings with focused interest. Laura coordinated with companion vessels that joined the expedition. Oliver and Grace guided the scout drones that mapped the immediate area. The Harbinger provided occasional notes on safe routes and interesting phenomena. One such suggestion led us to a cluster of stable anomalies that offered rich data without danger. The team collected samples and observations that would benefit research stations across the network. During a rest period, I reflected on the full arc of events. The council chamber felt like a distant memory, yet its lessons remained fresh. We had answered threat with resilience and found an ally in the most unexpected place. The experience strengthened our resolve to move forward with care and courage. Claire sent regular messages that kept family ties strong. The boys shared drawings of imagined worlds that made me smile during long shifts. Laura organized crew gatherings that maintained high spirits. Peter introduced friendly competitions that sharpened skills in enjoyable ways. Oliver and Grace inspired the team with their positive outlook and quick thinking. A surprise encounter occurred near an uncharted system. A council exploration vessel approached with cautious signals. We exchanged greetings and shared basic findings. The interaction proceeded with growing ease as both sides recognized mutual benefits. The Harbinger observed quietly and offered translation support when needed. The meeting opened new doors for limited partnerships. Laura arranged follow-up exchanges while Peter discussed technical observations. Oliver and Grace demonstrated flight maneuvers that impressed the visitors. The experience showed how far relations had come in a short time. As the mission continued, we encountered natural wonders that inspired awe. Vast nebulae painted the void with color while distant stars beckoned with promise. The crew worked with renewed dedication, knowing each effort contributed to a larger story. The thrill of discovery mixed with the satisfaction of shared purpose. One evening, the Harbinger spoke with me alone. "Your journey reflects the best qualities I have witnessed. Keep nurturing curiosity and compassion in equal measure. The future you build will shine brightly." I thanked the ancient friend and promised to carry the guidance forward. The Star Defender returned home after successful completion of its objectives. Celebrations welcomed the crew with warmth and appreciation. Claire and the boys met me at the landing area with open arms. Their hugs grounded me after the vastness of space. Community projects flourished in the following cycles. New habitats rose with designs that blended beauty and function. Educational centers taught lessons drawn from recent events, encouraging thoughtful exploration. Laura oversaw resource distribution that ensured fairness across growing populations. Peter led research initiatives that pushed boundaries in safe and ethical ways. Oliver and Grace mentored emerging leaders who would guide the next phases of expansion. The Harbinger continued to offer support without overshadowing human initiative. A grand assembly gathered to reflect on the changes. I stood before the crowd and spoke with genuine thanks. We faced darkness and found light through unity and unexpected help. The path ahead holds challenges and opportunities in equal measure. Let us walk it together with open hearts and steady hands. Applause rose as the Harbinger added a final message. The answer given long ago continues to echo. Humanity has shown the galaxy the strength of a voice that refuses to be silenced. May that strength inspire lasting peace and shared wonder. The gathering ended with music and shared hopes for the days to come. Families mingled with friends old and new. Children played under artificial skis that mimicked the stars we now knew better. The energy felt alive with possibility. In the quiet moments that followed, I often looked upward and remembered the long road. From the council decree to the voice that answered, we had traveled far. The experience taught humility and resilience in ways no simulation could match. Claire joined me on the observation platform one clear night. She took my hand and spoke softly. We made it through together. The boys will grow up in a world shaped by courage and connection. I nodded and answered with full heart. That is the greatest reward of all. The story of humanity among the stars continued to unfold. Each new chapter carried the spirit of defiance and discovery that had saved us when everything seemed lost. The Galactic Council learned respect, while we learned the power of being truly heard. Together, we stepped into brighter futures filled with high energy and endless potential. The stars above seemed closer now. Their light carried promises of adventures yet to come. We would meet them with the same determination that had brought us this far. The answer had been given. Now the journey belonged to all of us.